so I'm just going to share my screen just to make it a little bit easier to navigate. So in today's session, what we'll try to do, as I previously mentioned, is we'll just try and do we'll just try and do a little bit of a recap at the start, given people are still trickling in. We're going to try and do a little bit of a recap. We'll do the exercise that we promised yesterday. Um, and I think I've received one response, and we'll also take the thoughts of that participant and try to understand what their thoughts were navigating the whole example. And then we'll go and jump straight into the pivot tables. And then we'll have a working session for the pivot tables and how to work with pivot tables. And I also want to see your creativity in terms of creating these pivot tables, and I want to see how you summarize data. Let's remember that this is going to be more of a back and forth session. So we'll try and get as much feedback as possible, as many questions as possible. But we will also have to limit questions at a certain point, just to make sure that we maintain the flow of the workshop and not because I do want to deliver on what we promised with this workshop, and that is advanced Excel and Power BI. And in order to cover everything, we'll have to just be a little bit faster than yesterday. But that being said, welcome back, everyone. Hope you all had a decent day yesterday. I think for you guys it's today. Yeah, you had a good day. And yeah, let's do a recap of yesterday. So yesterday, what we did, I'm just going to go back on my slides so we can do that. Okay, so yesterday what we did was we introduced lookups. We understood why these lookups were important. What lookups help you do? They help you combine data. They help you organize, clean data, and they help create a clear evidence-based an evidence-based method of extracting data from the source. It's not that's not where your data analysis project ends. Then you build on top of it. Once you have your combined table, you build the pivot tables on top of it, and then you build your analysis on top of it. So it's a step-by-step process, and we are in the first step right now, which is creating that table, creating that clean data table that you want. Okay. So yesterday we introduced lookups, we introduced index and matching, and I think we did a good working. We had a good working session. You guys tried using the lookup formulas and index and matching formulas with me, using the shared workbook. So हमने वो सब कवर किया कल. हमने कल लुकअप्स क्यों इम्पोर्टेंट है वो कवर किया, लुकअप्स क्या कर सकते हैं वो हमने कवर किया, हमने वी लुकअप और इंडेक्स एंड मैच कवर किया. Okay, in terms of the example that we had yesterday, okay, first of all, yesterday at the end of the session, I gave everyone an example to work with. Status. So yesterday I gave everyone an example to work with. हमने कल सबको एक assignment दिया था. The assignment was that you had 2 years data. You had 2023 and 2024. You had to try and find which new entries you got from 2023 to 2024. You had to find which of the old entries were removed in 2024 compared to 2023. And you had to try to see if the IDs still correspond to the same combination in 2024 as they did in 2023. Apart from all of this, there was also a final task that you have to create a combined table, but I didn't expect that too much because I knew that we were going to cover that anyway today. So I think only one, I only got one response. but it is a pretty good response. I think it's a student by the name of Sanita, and I think she has tried solving the first and the second questions. So before we move on, Sanita, do you want to unmute and share your experience? What your thought process was?
Actually, so while doing the first question, it was said that what was the new entry? What were the new entries in 2024? So I used first VLOOKUP while matching the IDs and
Mhm.
used it, if so that it gives existing. But when the value is false, it was giving NA. That's why I used if error so that it gives new entry. So
Mhm.
that I solved it.
Yeah. Perfect. And so let's run through the example and your solution, and let's see if um, and let's just try and run through your example. So the first question was which new entries we got from 2023 to 2024. What Sanita has done here, it is perfect use of VLOOKUP and if statements together. I think we discussed that yesterday, that you had to match those two. You had to try to match VLOOKUP and if statements together. And how we are going to do that, I was going to discuss that today. And Sanhita has already done it in her example. If you look at it here, what she has done is she has used VLOOKUP. She has looked up the ID column in 2024, matched it with the ID column uh, in this sheet, and if it is giving the same if it is giving the same result as this ID, then she has asked Excel to put out existing. But if it does not, she has asked Excel to put out new entry. Is that, oh, just give me one second. If look if we look up the sales data 10, then the if statement ends. Oh, okay. So you haven't put a false value. You've just put
Actually,
an if error. Yeah.
I used if with false value like new entry, but when
Mhm.
I was doing it, it was giving NA, hashtag NA.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's why I used if error with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. What you've done is not wrong. For the class, if error generally returns a particular value if your formula is throwing an error. So that's just basically if error. So wherever the formula was throwing an error, she put an if error, and because it was throwing an error, she assumed that it's going to be a new entry, and which is not entirely incorrect. That is true. Because when you look at the new entries, these are all the new entries. These are actually the new entries. So the output is correct. The output is not wrong. So well done on that one. But I'm going to show you guys how to do this a little bit more simplistically a little bit later. So this formula, you can do this much quicker, much faster, and much and with a much shorter formula, which is easier to manage. I'm going to show that, but yeah, this is good as well. This is as we discussed yesterday. Results are important. The methods are not that important, and this is giving the desired result. So it is perfect. It is a perfect solution to question one. To question two, I think you've done the exact same thing, but you've just flipped it and used it for 2023. Is that correct, Sangatha?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And you've done the exact same thing. You just flipped it, and that is correct as well. And that is what you were supposed to do. So perfect. But question three, I see that you did one and two. What were your thoughts while doing question three?
Question three, actually, I was not be
Mhm.
able to understand. How to match the combination, like
Yeah.
how to give the same combination. That I didn't
Mhm.
understand actually.
Okay, yeah, we'll cover that. So we'll cover that shortly on how to match the combination, and then we'll go through the final task. But solid job. You've used VLOOKUP perfectly. This is how it is supposed to be used. I'm just going to show an alternative method using matching and how that can be done as well. But before we go get into that, so thank you, Sanita. Just wanted to check by just raising your hand if anyone else tried doing the assignment, and if they want to share their thoughts, just raise your hand. Yashasvi, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I tried doing a first and second task. So I was able to do both of them. But like
Mhm.
like her, I was also unable to do the third one. I did not know I was supposed to send you the assignment over email. So I thought we were going to discuss it in the meeting. So that's why I wasn't able to send. But I have been
Yeah,
able to do first and second task. And for that, I used if statement and
yeah.
if NA and match in a
If
combination.
an Okay, so if any or is any, it would be is any, I think.
Oh, sorry. Isn't it?
Is
Not
any,
it.
yeah. So you used is any and then match. Is that correct?
Yes. First if,
Yes.
then isn't it, and then match.
Perfect. So you used the other method that I was going to discuss. So that's perfect. So we've used both the methods, the possible both possible ways that you can solve this question. So thanks for that, Yashashvi. So the method that Yashashvi used, we'll discuss that shortly. And we will go step by step. And I'll start right now. Do we have enough people now, Pankaj, from yesterday?
Yes, yes, we have sufficient people. We can start.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's get started. So I'm just going to open up my copy, the unsolved copy. That is okay. So we will try doing all of this using mostly index and matching. And my thought process is that I'm going to solve first, second, and third. And then using the solutions of first, second, and third, I'm going to create the final task. So follow along. If you have questions, just write them down in the chat, and we'll address them when we come to it. So let's get started. So the first question was which new entries we got from 2023 to 2024. So in order to figure out if there are new entries, what Sanhita did and what Yashashvi did is probably the two ways you can do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to first try and figure out if it is new. So the method I personally prefer is using the same one that Yashashvi used, which is NA. I'm just going to use a match. I'm going to match this ID and see if it existed in the previous previous year or not. So that is going to give me the IDs that are actually new. Okay, in the match type, I'm going to use an exact match because there's a one-to-one relationship between the two variables, and there it is. It's just going to automatically give me a result saying that all of these are already existing. The ones that are new are these ones. So let's compare that to Sanita's method. Oh, that is okay. So yeah, Sanita also got those exact same responses. It is these five that are new responses. So what does the component? What are the components of this? So the components are isNA and match. Match is, as we discussed, what it does is it checks whether this particular variable. So it is a substitute of VLOOKUP, a much smaller substitute of VLOOKUP, what it does is it looks for a particular value in a particular range, and it just returns the position of that it returns the position of that value. What is NA does is that it checks if this particular formula that you're feeding into it is actually yielding a response or not. If it does not yield a response, it gives false. So it gives true, and if it does yield a response, it gives false. So it's a pretty simple way of doing it, the way that we've done it here. And this is probably a simpler version of the formula that we've used. The formula that was used by Sanita, it used VLOOKUP, and you can do it both ways. There is no real rules and regulations as to whether you can use a VLOOKUP or not. Whichever one you prefer, if you like VLOOKUP better, you can use VLOOKUP here. I prefer match because I'm going to be using match again and again for the next two questions as well. So this answers my first question. The first question was which new entries we got from 2023 to 2024. Now we'll jump into the second question. Second question is, which of these old entries did we not get compared to 2023, compared to 2024 and 2023? So I'm going to ask again, which of these were removed? Just asking which of these were removed, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. It's the question 1 and question 2 are identical. It's just that the context is flipped, and when the context is flipped, you just flip your query, and once you flip your query, you get the answer. So you look up this value in this query for an exact match, and there it is. So what this gives us, there was one of them that was removed. Now let's see Sanita's response, and I think she has the exact same one. Yeah. Let's check. Yeah, it is the exact same one. So these are the two ways you can do it. You can use VLOOKUP or you can use index and matching. Going to going from question 1 and question 2, this is these two were the simple questions, and now we get to the third one. But before I get to the third one, I'm just going to check my messages. Okay, great. Okay, so no questions so far. I'm going to assume that you are all good and you're paying attention, and we're going to move on to the third question. Okay, great. Okay, Sad's with me. Okay, great. You guys are still there. Okay, so moving on to the third question. Do the IDs still correspond to the same combination as they did in 2023? Now, I haven't. I realize that Sanita and Yashashvi, you guys tried to do the third one, but you didn't get to it. But do you have any thoughts that you would like to share in the chat box, or anyone, any thoughts of how we would do this? Like any ideas? It doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be right. You just an idea, and you can pop it in the message box. I want to see if you guys actually have a rough idea of what's going to happen. Matching, yeah, but how? How do you match 5 different rows at the same time? So it is going to be matching, but that's the last part of it. There has to be something needs to be done before we match. The entire table of both sheet at some step. Yeah, you can do that. Matching variables by taking into consideration both the entire tables. Yes, but how? How do we do that? I'm going to give the answer. Sometimes, not everything, not every method has to be super, super complicated. Sometimes solutions are really easy to our problems that we think are going to be very hard to navigate. So what we are going to do is we're going to create a composite ID. A composite ID is going to be, because what we want is we want this combination to be unique. We want the ID, region, city, category, and product combination to be unique. If that combination is unique, then and only then will our data analysis make sense. If that combination is not unique, our data analysis will not make sense. And there is no point of doing whatever it is, whether you're doing a t-test or whether you're doing any other test on your data. It does not make sense if the combinations are not exactly the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a composite ID. And this is actually pretty simple. All you have to do is just concatenate the 5 variables. And there it is. Now you have one field that is an ID field. This one field contains this one field is unique. Yes, your region column is divided into east and west. Your city column is divided into 4 cities. Your ID is unique, but your ID sometimes doesn't correspond to these 4 rows. So what you do is you go ahead and create a composite ID. You do that not only for 2024, you do the same thing for 2023 as well. Make sense?
So after that, we just match the composite ID and get
Yes.
done.
Yes. And the reason why we do that, the reason why we use composite ID is not just for the match, Gaurav. It's going to be essential when we go and try to create a combined table. Because remember, we don't want to drag and drop anything. I don't want to use control this and paste that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to use I don't want to create any non-provable way of how I got to my table. So remember that when you are presenting an analysis or creating an analysis, the reason why Excel and its formulas are important is because it resolves the burden of proof. When you present something to whoever it is, whether it's your professors, whether it's your boss or anyone, you can show them the result, but you have to also show them step by step how you got to that result. And in any way, your work should be traceable to the raw data. If your work is not traceable to the raw data, then there is a potential for error there. That is that gap between raw data and your analysis creates that manual error. So the less you do, the less you copy and paste or do any sort of manipulation that cannot be proven, and that cannot be traced, the better. The better your analysis, the better the efficiency and efficacy of your analysis. So we'll move on from here. So when you create this composite ID, now I want to see, what was the question? Combined table, do the IDs still correspond to the same combinations in 2024 as they did in 2023? So now, as you rightly pointed out, Gaurav, you're just going to do the exact same thing, but you're going to do it on our composite IDs. So we're going to mat again. We're going to use one composite ID, and we're going to see if it exists in this table. The match type is going to be exact. Oh, sorry. No block. Okay. So this is giving us what now this is giving us is only those IDs that exist in both. So let's say if the mismatch is true, it does not mean that all of them are new. Yes, 5 of them are new, but it does not mean that all of them are new. Some of them either have completely changed. So the output has completely changed from what it was, and or either they were removed. So if they were removed, you can cross check that as well. And what you can also do, I can show that to you, but it's just going to take some extra time, is you can create smaller tables, some smaller reconcilable tables that show where these mismatched columns came from. So if they were removed, you can create a separate table for that. You can create a separate table for the ones that were added new, and you can create a separate table for the ones whose mapping changed, or these by mapping I mean the ID to the region city category combination. That's generally referred to as mapping. That mapping changed. If that mapping changed, you can create a smaller table that shows how that mapping changed. Make sense? So now, okay, no questions, I'm assuming. Okay. Hopefully everyone's with me still. Okay, great, perfect. Perfect, okay. Okay, so now we get to the tough part, and this is now what I want to do is I want to create a combined table with 2023 sales data and 2024 sales data in the same table. And I do not want to use copy and paste. I want to do this entire thing without using Control C, Control V. And we're going to, and I don't even want to type it out. I want it to automatically populate with Excel formulas. So we're going to try and do that. So what I want first is I want these columns. So I want the ID, region, city, category, product, quantity. These columns are going to remain the same because we've used mismatch. What is our question again? We only want those cases where we have data for both years. Only those which are not mismatches. So we want only those columns that are false here. We do not want anything that is true here. We only want the ones that are matching across both years. So what I'm going to do is, what that means is that this composite ID is unique. What is the composite ID made up of? These 5 columns. So I'm going to use these 5 columns here. I'm going to try and recreate this. So I said I won't use copy and paste. I'm just using it for the heading, so that doesn't count. I just can't be bothered to type. I'm just using it for the headings. Let me, so just going to put it at the bottom here. Going to create 2023. You can do it the way you prefer, and you can start doing this with me right now, and see if it makes sense to you guys, and do it with me so that we can save some time later. Okay. Okay. Oh wow. Select a number. Use 2024, and we want these 3 columns. We want quantity, unit price, and total price. That is what we want. Just going to put that here. Here. Now you can do this. You can shuffle this around a little bit. The best practice depends on who you are reporting to and what is it that you are disseminating. Sometimes people like to put the quantity by quantity, so 2023 quantity versus 2024 quantity, 2023 unit price versus 2024 unit price, and 2023 total price versus 2024 total price. You can do that. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong in it. I just prefer to see the years separate, just to make sure that I can validate my data very easily. So this is what we want. This is the output we want, and this is going to be our output table. In order to get to this output table, now we want to pull all of this data from here directly onto here, and we only want the ones that are not mismatches. So how am I going to do that? So I'm going to create an index. The reason I'm creating an index is because okay, it will get clear why I'm creating an index. I'm just going to create an index and then I think I'll explain it. So our index is just going to be just a number system that that refers to each and every row. So it's just going to be equal to if the value, so mismatch is already in a true false, it's already a bit, so it's already in data type bit. When your data type is already, the bit data type is either true or false, binary, 0 or 1. When it's already true or false, 0 or 1 in a binary, in the if logical test, you don't actually have to put it as something. You can just ask that if mismatch is true or false, then if it is true, then you can put whatever you want to put. If it is false, you can put whatever you want to put. So if it is true, I don't want anything because I don't want mismatches in my data. So I'm just going to discard that. If it is false, what do I want? I want a number from 1 to the maximum number. I don't know how many there are going to be. I want to automate as much as possible. So if this analysis changes, there is traceable. This is redoable. So I can just do it again by just changing the data. And I want to trace how I gave the numbers. So I'm going to put it like this. I'm just going to say this is M1 to, sorry, I'm just going to use absolute referencing M1 to M1. I'm referring to the cell above it. If the maximum, whatever the maximum of the range above it, plus 1 is going to be my output if it is false. Now, this did this make sense to you guys? What I did, because I'm open to taking questions on this one if it did not make sense. So just pop it in the chat if it made sense or not. All good? Okay, you don't get it. Gaurav, you can unmute.
Yeah.
What was your confusion?
So I didn't exactly get the whole thing. I mean, so
Yeah,
I couldn't
okay.
follow through.
Okay, so what we did here, basically, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create an index. So you remember what we do in index matching, right? What we do in index matching is we try to find one common thread between two columns, between our lookup column and the other column. So here, we want to find a common thread between this table and this table. Right now, you see there's nothing in this table. So how do I find a common thread? It is impossible, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a common thread. In the absence of ID, we're creating an ID. What I'm doing is I'm using our question 3 response, which is whether we have any mismatches or not, as the key. That is going to be the key. And I'm going to create an individual ID for every row that is not a mismatch. The way I've done that is If the mismatch is true, you leave the column empty. Okay, so if you go here, look at the blanks. These are all mismatches, and the index is empty for them. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
Make sense so far? Now,
Yeah.
for the ones where mismatch is false, which means that these are unique IDs. These are unique columns for these are unique IDs that exist in both years, 2023 and 2024. What I did was I created a number system. So basically, I want it all numbered from 1 to however many there are. Okay, I don't know how many there are. So in order to create it in a way that there is a traceable proof, what I asked Excel to do is find out the maximum between the first cell of my column to whatever the cell I am in, and add it by 1 and populate that. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
So if you look at this formula, it says M1 to M1. So the first cell and the cell above my cell, which is this one. But if you look at 2, it says first cell and the cell above my cell. So the maximum of these 2 cells plus 1.
Okay.
So make sense? So that's why there's 2 there. The more you keep going down, only one thing changes. See, the reference of the cell above you changes. The first cell reference remains the same. I'm just going to click on this, and you can see it's taking the maximum of 1, which is M1 to 1 to 8, and adding 1. And once you add that, you get 9. What this does is, the reason why we've done this is because when there is an empty row, like here, you have 2 on 1. Now, if I don't do it this way, and I just ask it to just give me numbers from 1 to...
Then someone will have to manually do it. So instead, there's a
Exactly.
formula. So that's why I created an index. Yeah.
Exactly. It's traceability. It is just traceability. That's all this is. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yashashvi, made sense now? Give me a thumbs up if it did. What does at mean? At. Oh, you mean this at mismatch? Yeah, at mismatch is. Yeah, so at mismatch is just because our column has a name. Right now, this is in a table format. So in Excel, there are 2 formats in which your data can be. Your data can be just regular as when you just, for example, I'll show you this practice data. Here, this data is not in a table format. It's just a worksheet with data that has been entered here. You might see a table, but there is no table. It's just data in cells it's just data arranged in cells. When you create a table, where is it? Data view.
I can insert.
Yeah. Oh yeah, insert. Yeah. Insert. No, not that. I think. Is it insert?
In the leftmost side.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, you're correct. So when you create it as a table, then this row, because it has headers, this row will become, it will not be, this column will not be known as column I, it will be known as column actual price. So that is what's happening here. So it is just an identification for your column. This mismatch column. Yeah. Yeah. So instead of, I can actually just remove this and just say this, and it would still be the same. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, something went wrong. Something went wrong. Oh, right. Oh, that's right. Okay. L. What is it? L2. I can just say L2 and it will still be the same. instead of L2, it's just using the column name. That's it. That's the difference. Make sense? So this made sense so far. Why we created created an index. Now what we want to do is, now here we have created this number system. Now we want the same number system here because we want something as a link between the two tables. Right now this table is empty, so there cannot be a link. So I'm just going to create index. I'm going to create is equal to if this number, if this no, sorry, if lost my track of thought. Okay. If the maximum of this row, whatever the maximum of this column is, this index column is greater than the maximum between, what is my column name? It's maximum between A1 and A2, because that is the top two cells. It is the first cell and the cell above mine. In that case, if in that case I want there to be a value that is maximum. Again, we're going to select these two. One sheet, three. Pointless. So we're going to do the exact same thing what we did before, and if it's false, then we just leave it. Oh, should be is equal. Sorry, not greater than. Something's wrong in my formula. If maximum of column M is equal to maximum between A1 and A2, did I mess up somewhere? Oh, yeah, it is greater than. Can't be equal to. Okay, and then I'm just going to drag and drop it. So you can see all of these columns are empty, but up to 237, because that is how many rows we have here. 237. So this way, now we have a common link between the two tables. This table and this table, now we have a common link between them. Now we are going to use our index and matching. So I'm now going to use the stuff that we learned yesterday. So I'm going to index. What do we want when we use index? First, we want the output row. So it's going to be output row, and then we use match. We want to match our index value. So this is the missing link. Going to match that with our lookup array, which is going to be this row. I'm just going to use, actually, because we are using the whole column, we don't actually need to do absolute referencing, but I'm just going to do it anyway because it is better to do absolute referencing. Oh, I think I should remove absolute referencing here because that would be more useful. Going to use an exact match, and that should give you the first ID. That will give you all the IDs. Now you can just drag it. Oh, why is date here? I don't want date. Yeah, we don't want date because date is not relevant to our table. We only want these these five. So I'm just going to here I'm just going to keep using the output. I'm going to be using a C, and what is it referring to? B3. Why is it referring to B3? To refer to oh, right. Need to capture it here. Then drop it. The same thing across here. And oh, so one thing to remember when doing this in index matching is if there is when there is nothing here, you do want to put something like you do want to put an if statement here. I forgot about that. So what happens is when there is nothing here, it is matching nothing with nothing. So it is going to find the first column that has a blank, which is this one, and it's just going to keep repeating that because there is nothing here. So it is matching this nothing with this nothing. So we want to avoid that. So in order to avoid that, I'm just going to change my formula a little bit. If this does not equal to nothing, then continue. If it does equal to nothing, then let's put nothing. So just going to change my formula a little bit in that way. So there's no issues there. 3. So now if you check, that should have gone away. We're going to do the same thing across. Oh, what just happened? Oh, it's using B. C, not B. Okay, and that's how you get everything here. Now I'm going to stop here. Any questions so far again? If nothing, I'm going to move on. Now, here comes the interesting part. We are so far referencing this index column that exists in this table. Now, we want to pull data out from 2023. Okay, not from 2024. Now we want these. Now we want these 3 rows: the quantity, unit price, and total price. And there is no index column here. By a raise of hand, how many of you believe that we can just use this index for this table? Just raise your hand if you think we can do that. Okay, Gaurav. Raise your hand if you think we'll have to create a new index here. Deepak, Ibrar, Sanita. Okay. So you 4 are actually correct. Ideally, we should be able to use this one, but the reason why we can't use this one is because there are different rows in here compared to here. Okay. Now raise your hand if you are alive. Okay. Just checking. Just checking. There's still a bunch of there's still a group that is paying attention. Okay. Only 10 of you are unfortunately alive. The rest are dead. Okay. Anyway, feel free to ask me any questions via email if none of this makes sense to you guys. I'll try and answer as many emails as possible. Okay, moving on. to our final section, which is creating 2023. So for 2023, Gaurav, you would have been right. The only problem is that um, column in row 2 does not necessarily have to be the column in row 2 here. If this was identical data, you could have gotten away. You could have gotten away with not creating an index for this table, but that's not the case. For us, it is a bit of a sticky situation because these composite IDs are not corresponding to the composite IDs in the second table, and for that reason, we'll have to create a new index. So I'm just going to say index copy. We don't necessarily have to create a new index. All we have to do is pretty simple this time. We're just going to do an index matching. So we're going to do the exact same thing that we did there. We're just going to index our actual index column. And we're going to use our composite ID, this composite ID, and we're going to look that up in this composite ID. And then we're going to look for an exact match. Oh, sorry. I messed up. Should be a match here. We should look for this composite ID, and we're looking for an exact match. And that's how you get the index copy here. So this index, this number is the exact same number assigned here to this composite ID. So whatever the number we've given to this ID in 2024 is the exact number we've given it in 2023 as well. So that way we can actually get what we want. I can actually just do this and that should be fine, but I'm just going to do this to make sure that to make sure that I'm copying the right formula. I'm just making it easy for myself and nothing else. So I'm just going to go here. I'm going to change the output column. So the output column this time is going to be this one, which is actually correct, 2023, and then we're going to refer to 2023 column L and not M. So that way you get the values in 2023. Just drag it and you'll get every value. Doing the same for 2024. But for 2024, we actually want these values. So we just want 2024 values. So we don't actually have to change the referencing by a lot. Just have to change the output column. The output column here is going to be the 2024 quantity. Drag it, drop it. And there you have it. You have your combined table now. That is a mix of the two tables. Yeah, go ahead, Yashashvi.
I wanted to ask, in the formula, you have used greater, less than and greater than symbol, and then there is, no, not here. I think it's in, yeah, so here you have used this. Yeah. Can you explain this part a little?
Yeah, sure. So this is not actually, so this is the Excel equation for not equal to. In Excel, we have equal to, but if you want to denote not equal to, you just use the less than and then greater. So that is not equal to. So what I'm basically saying is that if this column is not equal to null, this means null. Two double quotations means null, empty. So if this cell is not empty, then populate whatever I'm asking you to populate. Then do an index and matching. But if it is empty, just populate. Just keep the cell empty. Make sense?
Okay, got you.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this section? Okay, not seeing any hands. Not seeing any messages. Okay.
So if it would be possible for you to just go over the formula once more in brief, like this part regarding the not equal to, like I got just over the EDDA formula once in very brief, like to just kind of like over the recap of the formula.
Sure, Hindu. Which one? This formula? Just the main formula that we're
Yes,
using?
yes, the main formula. Yes.
Yeah. So the main formula is the Sunita Suryanshi. Yeah, sure. I will explain it in a very simple way. I'm just going to explain the formula in a simple way. Sunita, you also want the formula explained? Is that correct? Okay. I'm just going to explain the formula. So basically what we've done in the formula is the index and matching formula is what we learned yesterday. What index does is it gives you the output. It gives you what you want from a table. What match does is it looks for that that output by matching your ID column with the ID column of the table that you're pulling the data from, right? So what we've done here for just combined data, for just this combined data, for just this, what we've done is we've created two IDs. One ID, हमने दो IDs create किए हैं. पहली ID है index, दूसरी ID है यहाँ पर 2024 टेबल में. हम लोगों ने दो IDs create किए. We've created two IDs. Then what we've done is हमने index use किया है. Index से हमने कहा है कि give us the ID column. So the formula, as you can see, this is the first variable in the formula. पहला variable है food sales 2024 column A. हमने the first column, the first variable in the index match formula is always the output. वो हमेशा output होता है. तो हमने कहा है formula से Excel से, we told Excel to give us the ID first. Then we ask now how does Excel know which ID to give us? तो उसके लिए हमने यूज किया है match और हमने Excel को कहा है basically कि ये जो नंबर दिख रहा है इस कॉलम में, A कॉलम में बगल वाला जो नंबर दिख रहा है, whichever number you see here, try and find that number here. Once you find that number here, give me the ID column of that table. Make sense? मतलब ये जो नंबर है वो ढूंढो इस टेबल में और फिर उसी टेबल का आईडी मुझे लाके दो. वो बेसिकली हमने यहाँ पे एक्सेल को कहा है. सो my formula got messed up. Sorry, my formula got messed up. So उसका the first component of that is the output, यानी what you want, मतलब जो तुम्हें चाहिए वो तुम कॉपी करने के लिए जो तुम चाहिए वो तुम मांग रहे हो. The second component is matching, यानी you're telling Excel match this, which is going to be the first variable of match, to this, which is going to be the second variable, to this, which is going to be the second variable of match, and the final variable of match is 0. 0 means that you want an exact match. You want this to match to you want this number to match this number exactly. You want 1 to match with 1 and not 1 to match with an approximate closer number to 1. Make sense? Hindu?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. It does make sense.
Okay. Sunita, all good? Or
Yes, sir.
okay, perfect. Okay, so I think this was the exercise, and we have solved it. I do want to see if you guys can also try this, try doing this. I just want to take the admin's response on this. Should they try this at home? Would that be better, Pankaj or Amit? Either of you?
Yes, They can try, but I would like to ask the participants if they want a break of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, they can also try this, or they want to us to continue the session. Please raise your hands. For if you want to have a break for 5 minutes, please raise your hands.
And just to respond to Gitanjali, yes, I will share it. I will ask the admin, Amit or Pankaj, I will ask them to share the solution sheet. I'll email it to them after the session. Or if you want it right now, I can email it right now. So,
Okay, so we can take a break for 5 minutes. In the meanwhile, if someone is interested to do this exercise on their own, they can try. And after 5 minutes, head sir can respond to their queries. Okay, thanks.
okay, thank you. I'll just go and get some water then. Let's get started. So yeah, how many, just by a show of hands, how many of you have worked with pivot tables before? Just raise your hands. Priyanka, Hindol, Sanita, Shashvi. Okay. A bunch of you have worked with pivot tables. Okay, yeah. A bunch of you have worked with pivot tables, so that's great. So what we're going to do today is we're going to try and just introduce pivot tables. Very basic. You used it in your PhD thesis to make cross tabs. Yes, perfect. So Priyanka, that's perfect because that is. I'm not joking. That is the best use of pivot tables. Pivot tables are not going to. So we're going to introduce pivot tables. Pivot tables are not going to replace your standard statistical tests. They're not going to replace your ANOVAs. They're not going to replace your t-test. They're not going to replace that. That's not what pivot tables are used for. Pivot tables are mainly used for descriptive statistics. They are used they're just used to describe your population. They're not useful for answering inferential questions. That does not happen with pivot tables. But that being said, when it comes to having a dynamic visual representation of your data, the only thing better than pivot tables, in my opinion, is Power BI. Power BI just takes that to the next level, but pivot tables are still used pretty heavily in industrial in industries, especially when you're working with people working with principal investigators, or you're working with research officers, or people who have been in the field for a long time. They generally still prefer pivot tables more rather than dashboards, because dashboards can be a little bit finicky. Dashboard कभी इधर उधर हो सकता है, कभी क्लिकिंग करने पे उसका अलाइनमेंट भी हिल सकता है, इसीलिए कई बार जो काफी सीनियर रिसर्च ऑफिसर्स होते हैं या फिर जो सीनियर लेवल पे एग्जीक्यूटिव्स काम करते हैं, दे स्टिल प्रेफर पिवट टेबल्स ओवर डैशबोर्ड्स. So what we're going to do is we're just going to introduce pivot tables today, and we're going to and I'm just going to go and show you what pivot tables do. When we think of Excel, we don't think really of creativity, but Excel is also a creative platform. The creativity is when you use your instincts to present data in a way that makes the most sense and that gets the most out of that data without having to do too much. You don't have to do too much for that data to make sense or it to look good. And that is what pivot tables helps you do. So what is a pivot table? A pivot table is just basically a crosstab. It helps you quickly summarize data. It's very useful for working with census data, for data that is descriptive, that has demographic markers. It is really useful for that. And it helps in spotting patterns. It does not answer your questions regarding whether these patterns are significant or not. It does not provide any statistical significance, but it does give you a description of what your population looks like, what your survey population looks like, or what the data you're working with looks like. The best part of this is it's just simple drag and drop. It is so simple that anyone can use it, manipulate it, and when done right, it looks beautiful. So that is the biggest pro of pivot tables. So what pivot tables can do? They can summarize large data sets pretty quickly. They're very useful in data exploration. You can group and filter data, you can slice it, you can generate charts, and these charts change automatically based on your selections. So all of that, it acts as like it's an OG dashboard. It is a dashboard before dashboard was a thing. And what pivot tables cannot do, they cannot do advanced data cleaning, which is why we cleaned our data before this. When Gaurav was asking yesterday, why are we doing all of this? Why are we doing this VLOOKUP? Why are we doing this index matching? Why are we doing everything that we're doing? The reason is what we did before this was getting the data ready to go into a pivot table, to go into a descriptive model. That is what we did. We made the data ready to go ahead, and that is what has to be done before you start putting your data into pivot tables. Pivot tables cannot do any complex tests, as I said before. They can only describe, they cannot explain what is going on. So they're great for any descriptive studies, any data exploration, but anything you want to go from there forward, you cannot use pivot tables. You can still use Excel, but not pivot tables. There are Excel add-ins that you can use, and I'm hoping we will cover during our next session. But they can only describe. The pivot tables can only describe. So pivot table components, pretty straightforward. There's rows, there's columns, there's values, filters, and slices. It's just these 5 things. The rows, I'll create a pivot table just for it to make sense. So yeah, let me first show you what a created pivot table looks like. This is something I did because I thought it would be helpful to do a show and tell before our session. Yeah. So, okay. Just from a show of hands, how many of you have seen a pivot table before? Not used it, but at least seen a pivot table before. Okay. Okay. So a large chunk of the group has at least seen a table before, even if they've not created it or used it. They've at least seen a pivot table before. So this is what a standard pivot table would look like. Sorry, the formatting is a mess because I just created it while creating the slides. So this is what generally a pivot table along with a pivot chart would look like. Something like this, where you have a crosstab, you have your values, and you have these different filters on top, and then you have a slicer. The slicer changes the data according to what you pick, and then there is also an option of selecting multiple values in the slicer, and the same goes for your filters. The filters exactly do the exact same thing. And then you have your pivot chart, and the chart changes based on your selection. Just going to select rural, and my chart changes. If I don't select rural, I select all, the chart changes again. So, so basically, your pivot tables are. This is what a pivot table is. So the components, if you're looking at a pivot table, are your row. This is your row. Which is going to be one measure. Then you have your column, which is your second measure to create a crosstab. Then you create your values. Your values are generated automatically based on your selection in the values column. And then you have your filters and the slicer. So these are basically the 5 components of a pivot table. Going to stop there. Any questions so far? Okay. Does not seem like there's much question. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Pivot tables, we're not going to spend too much time on pivot tables because it is pretty straightforward. Okay. So that's basically what a pivot table is. So let's get down on it and let's try and create a pivot table out of the data that we've just created. So this is a combined table that we just created. Now I want to actually create a pivot table out of it. And for this one, how many of you have, raise your hands if you have access to Excel right now? Just raise your hand if you can use Excel right now while you're on this phone call. Quite a big chunk, 16, 15, 16, 17. 17 to 18 people can actually use Excel while they're on the call. So for the rest of you, you'll have to just watch, and then when you do have chance to use Excel, you want to do it then. But for all of the ones that actually have access to Excel right now, let us all create a pivot table. I'm going to create a pivot table, and you guys also create a pivot table. And it does not have to be the exact same thing that I did. I do want to see what you create. Sometimes this is not about expertise. This is more about your creativity and your understanding of how to present your data. So if you were working with this data, I want to see how you present it. And we're just going to do it together. I'm going to create my pivot table. I'm going to explain every step of what I'm doing, and then you can follow along, and you can also create your pivot tables. Make sense? Good exercise. Agree. Give me a thumbs up if you agree, or give, yeah. Okay, great. Okay, big chunk agrees. If you disagree, don't say anything. It's okay. Anyway, okay, let's get started. Let's get started. Let's start creating our pivot table. Okay, so the first thing you want to do in order to create a pivot table is to actually make sure that you have all the columns selected, the ones that you want to use. I don't want the index column. It's of no use to me. That is just, that column is there just because we wanted to make sure that our data is imported correctly. Actually, let's just go and hide it. We don't need it. Let's just hide it. This is actually a good, that could be a good lesson in data presentation. Looking at this table, and it's not very well presented right now. So I'm just going to change a little bit of what I've done in my table. I'm just going to select these 2 rows. I'm going to reduce the number of decimals. Okay, I have to select this. Going to reduce the number of decimals. Maybe just keep it to 2 decimals. Maybe 1 is fine. We don't need that many decimals. I'm going to do the same. Actually, I don't need to do that. Format, paint, format. Copy the same format here. And you're going to copy the same format here. So I'm just making sure that my data is looking good. These column width is extended to 12. Okay, now it's better. Okay, so I just want these. In terms of a research question, my research question for you, and you guys have to try and find it. What is the average uh, what is yeah, I should have thought of the research question, but yeah, because it seems flawed right now. But the research question should be, what is the difference in prices that you can observe um, across different cities and different products? So that is what you want to present with this data. That is your data exploration that you want to do. You don't actually know what the data looks like right now, so you just want to make sure that it looks okay, sorry, let me stop talking. In our case, we'll have to select this because the top one, I don't think we'll be able to select. All right, I forgot that we'll have to, okay. In order to pool 2023, I'll have to write it this way. Price 3, 4, okay. So now I'm just going to select my entire table. Just going to enter a pivot table from this range to a new worksheet. I generally like using a different worksheet, and when you do use different worksheet, it helps. It gives you more control on presenting the data. I don't like grid lines, so I'm just going to remove them. Now you just select on your table. For those who have not worked with pivot tables, just select on your pivot table, and then you create your measures the way that you want. Generally, I would like to uh, see not one but two or three different tables when I'm working with three different measures, because that gives me the full flexibility of the range of my data exploration increases instead of just keeping it to one table. So yeah, I'm just going to use region as a filter because I don't want it. Going to use the product as not the product. I think I should use the category as the column, and I'm going to use the city as my row, and then I'm going to use the product could be a subcategory. Actually, oh, maybe I should move category into filter. I'm going to use product in my column, or I probably should add it to a slicer. And then I'm just going to use the sum of quantity. Now, instead of the reason why I'm using sum of quantity is because our quantity, we want to show how much total sales there have been of a particular of um, of a particular product. So we do want to show that, and we want to show that across 2 years. This doesn't look right. Okay. We put city here, put the product here, sum of values here. I think this is much better. So this helps me just summarize that. Let me add a. There's a let me add a slicer to our. Going to add a slicer to our to our pivot table because it's just better slicer. Category is a slicer. Category is the slicer. To remove category from here. Okay. So this this is basically what a pivot table can help you do. It can help you describe your data pretty efficiently. But as you can see, it cannot do any high-level analysis that you would want it to do. For that, there is a special Excel add-in that you have to add in, and that special Excel add-in, it's called analysis toolpack. That can help you do any test that you want to run. We'll cover that in a subsequent lecture. But for this one, we're just going to create our pivot tables. Okay, so that's my pivot table. That's comparing 2023 and 2024. Here we also have this one that you can probably use. Sorry. No, let's just keep it in, so it's fine. Okay, so let's create a pivot chart. Actually, I do want to switch rows and columns. This looks better. I think that will look better. Okay, this looks better. So I have one pivot table. This is helping me just look at what the sum of the quantity was in 2023. Now you can create a similar one for 2024 and then compare. You can create another Excel chart, or you can add 2024 to this very pivot table and then also create a chart. You can do it both ways, whichever one you prefer. So let's try adding it. So this will give you a better comparison of 2023 and 2024. What this tells me is that arrowroot cookies are selling way more in Boston in 2024 than they were. The sales for oatmeal raisin is down. So that's what basically a pivot table helps you figure out. It helps you figure out the trends, and it does not. It helps you describe what you're seeing in your data more efficiently. The good thing about this is that when I switch my slicer, or when I change my region, my chart will change automatically, and that is the benefit of this. Just checking, how many of you just raise your hands that you're actually creating pivot tables right now? Okay. Category is added by default. By categories, do you mean row and column? Is that
Yeah, no. Bars, cookies, crackers, and snacks categories.
Yeah.
These ones.
Oh, okay. So what I did for that is you go to, once you have created your pivot table, go to pivot table analyze. Once you're there, click on insert slicer. Once you click on insert slicer, you can choose which one you want to add. So I added a slicer for category. You can also add a slicer for, let's say, city. And then you'll have data just for Boston, just for LA, for New York, just for San Diego. So you can do that. I think I see another hand raised. Any questions from the group? Any questions so far? Okay, hands are down. So seems like no questions.
So could you go over the inserting slicer thing? Like, I can't really find
Yeah.
it.
So click on your pivot table. Once you have clicked, follow here, click on your pivot table. Once you click on your pivot table, you'll see here, it says pivot table analyze. Go on to pivot table analyze, go here and click on insert slicer. and then that will help. And then you just pick whichever slicer you want to add, and then just click OK. That's
Okay, sir. Yeah.
okay. I'm just going to give you guys a couple of minutes to try and create your pivot tables. Just checking, Amit. Once they have created their pivot tables, I do want to see their pivot tables as well. Do you think we can do that?
Yes, yes. If they want, they can share their screen.
Okay. Thanks, Amit. In the meantime, any questions on what we did so far? There's also one more thing that you can probably, I think it already auto-populated. Let's say you have created your pivot table, and in your pivot table, you want to create a sub-table out of it that you want to use for some other type of analysis. In that case, what you can genuinely do, and this is very simple, just pivot table options. Oh, sorry. So you can click on the measure that you want. Just double click on it. Oh, sorry, the result that you want. Just double click on it, and it will give you a shorter pivot table, a smaller pivot table, with some micro details of that category. So it will, for example, the selection that you have here, the selection is Boston and banana bars. Banana bars in Boston. So for the banana bars in Boston, when you double click on it, it's going to give you all the banana bars in Boston IDs. And with those IDs, it's going to give you a smaller table that you can use for other type of exploration if you want to do it. It's just a smaller perk of this, of the pivot tables.
In the meanwhile, can you while people are working on it, can you go through the how you created the pivot table again? I mean, I missed it actually. I was like trying to follow some other person in the meanwhile, and
Yeah, sure.
I missed it.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Okay, so let's go to our main sheet. So this was our main sheet. So what you do is you select the whole sheet, including the columns that you want. Then you go to Insert, Pivot Table, from Table Range. I like to create a new table every time. A new worksheet every time. Sorry, instead of using the same one. So I'm just going to create a new worksheet, and once the worksheet has been created, now all now it's just depending on what you want to show in your data. Yeah. So if you want to show, let's say, product and their categories, and you want to put the city as a filter, you can go ahead and do that. That's fine. However, this would not work because this would look very weird. After putting it, I realized it. So this is how this would look very weird. So I would not do that. I would probably put category as a filter or a slicer. And then I would probably put city as one of the rows, and that actually looks much better. For some reason, we are not selling any banana bars in the other 3 cities, which is weird. Um, then you can, if you want to add a slicer, you just click on your pivot table, go to pivot table analyze. And here you have insert slicer, and you can put a slicer of your, let's say, category. Now you have a category here. Now, if you want to just see bars, it will only show you bars. If you want to just see cookies, it will just show you cookies. Now, once I'm looking at cookies, I want to see this, how this would look. I want to compare it, compare the sales data from 2023 as well. So I'm just going to go, sorry, yeah. I'm just going to go to quantity, and I want to see how many quantities we sold in 2023 as well. This doesn't look great to me, so I'm just going to put it here, and now it looks better. And now I also want to see pivot chart. I want to see how this data looks in a graph. I'm just going to create a graph out of it, and that is basically how to create. Pretty simple. And this just gives you like a description that, okay, arrowroot cookies, this 2023 one side, 22. So I don't like the ordering. I like the 2023 first, 2024 next. So I'm just going to switch it around. Yeah, go ahead, Yashashwi. You have a question?
Where did you go to add this chart?
Pivot chart. Sorry. Click on your table. Anywhere on your table, you'll see pivot table analyze. Click on that, and there you have pivot chart.
Okay, got it.
Makes sense? I think in the session today we have someone who taught me a bit about how to use these charts and how to use pivot tables accurately. Saurav is in the call. Hi, Saurav. So yeah, I'm a bit nervous teaching you all guys because he's better at this than me. But yeah, feel free to add in anything if you want, Saurav. Okay. Any luck? Everyone doing good? Anyone wants to show their pivot charts? Anyone want to do a show and tell? We have 15 minutes. We can do it if you want. Don't be shy. It's fine. Okay. No responses. In the meantime, let me explore with you. I haven't used some of these. Some of this I haven't used, so I'm just going to try and see if we can use. This is this relationship tool. This is a great tool that is used in Microsoft Access. In Microsoft Access, relationship tool is generally used to figure out what a relationship between two tables in a data it looks like. I don't know how it works in pivot tables. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead. Anyone want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to share. I don't know. I mean, how it is right now.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Share. Share screen. Can you share screen? There should be a button.
Yeah, I'm looking at. Let's share this window. Yeah. Can you see that?
Yes, great. Go ahead. So what's the
Yeah,
idea?
this is it right now. Yeah, so like I mean, this is it. Is it all right? I don't know.
Yeah, this is good. It's good. Yeah, it's good. So what do you think? Like when you look at this pivot chart, what is it that you want to improve? What is it that you want answered? What is it that you want explored? Think along those lines. And any thoughts from you?
Right now, I mean, I'm not able to think, but yeah, I get the idea of how I can use this for, I mean, describing things as to, okay, if I'm
Mhm.
trying to look at sales of like crackers or snacks or cookies,
Mhm.
so that's one of the parameters along which I can, so if they're increasing, if they're decreasing, so those are the descriptive parameters. So through that, then I
Yeah,
can get into understanding what I mean, what are the questions. So according to my questions, I can have categories and everything. So I can
yeah.
then come across and form up like maybe get to know a pattern or anything, and then try to use it as far as I can understand.
Yeah, yeah. Let's try doing one thing and see, Gaurav, using your table. Do you want to explore if the average price has changed between 2 years for
Sure.
products? Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
but
do
I
that.
have,
So,
yeah, sure.
do you want me to share my screen, or do you want to do it on your screen? Either one,
No, I
fine.
think if you do it on your screen, that would be better, I think.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. Okay, so I'll just do it on my screen. We'll try and see if we can compare the product price between the 2 years and see how that has changed over the year. Okay, so let's say just going to put on my field, and instead of this sum of quantity, because I wanted to see how much sales were happening, now I actually want to see what the unit price has changed. By how much has the unit price changed between the 2 years? But a sum of unit price doesn't do me any good. I want to see the average unit price for different products, and I don't want to see the unit price for um, uh, yeah, so I want to see the unit price change. So I'm just going to, instead of sum, I'm going to do value field settings. I'm going to create an average. So this is going to give me an average of the price. I'm going to do the same for 2023 as well. Just want to see the average, arrange it properly. And now I can't look at all of this at the same time. The graph is looking mad. I can't look at all of this at the same time. I want to look at a subsection of it. I want to see how the price of cookies has changed over the 2 years. Now, realistically, I don't want to see um, all cities either, because I can't analyze my data that way. So what I can do is either put my cities in a slicer, or I can put it in a filter. Because we already have a slicer, I'm just going to put it in a filter. Oh, what happened?
So if we can do it
Yeah.
either way using filter or slicer, I mean, why? I mean, why not? Why do we have both options then?
So the changes between filter and slider, the reason why people use slicer compared to filter is because it's a toggle. It's the difference between this is going to sound a bit crazy, but it's the difference between a switch and I would say let's compare it to a tap. It's the difference between a switch and a tap. When you a switch is something that you want to click on and off pretty easily, and also you want to make sure that it is visible. You want it there. You want it. It is not. It's not a part of your. Um, so a slicer is a part of your analysis. A filter is not a part of your analysis. A
I
filter
get
is
it.
what
So
you're
you just
excluding from your analysis. Yeah, go ahead.
okay. I get it. I get it.
Mhm.
I get some idea about what you're trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was a bit confused how to put it, but yeah, you want your slicer is you want a part of your analysis. So when you
Hmm.
are presenting this, you know that whoever is the stakeholder, whoever is looking at your analysis, will want to see. Okay, so the price of cookies has remained relatively same in 2023 and 2024. Actually, I want it.
Okay, so basically, if I'm presenting something and I want to present for Boston, so I would put it within filter. But say, for example, if I want to like show someone, I mean, show someone the other cities as well, Boston, then Los Angeles or New York. So I would put it within slicer because I have to constantly change it.
Yes. So the difference would be, let's say you are presenting the same analysis to two different people. The first
Yeah.
person is the sales in charge of all snacks in New York. In
Yeah,
that case,
yeah,
you would put city as a filter, and then you'll
yeah,
put
yeah.
all
So
the snacks.
I'll just choose one city and show it to so that it's almost invisible. Just as you
Exactly.
said, like I mean, it's between a tap and a switch. I get that.
Exactly. So the good thing is you can actually hide your filter. So they don't get to choose what the other data that you have in your in your table that you don't want to show them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. This does happen quite often in my job when I'm presenting data to, let's say, a hospital that is 3 kilometers from here, and I'm presenting to the chief of surgery there. I
Hmm.
I have to make sure I give him the whole I give him the analysis, but I don't give him the option to see the same performance results of another hospital.
Yeah, I get
So
it.
in
Yeah,
that case, I would have like surgery here as a category, but I would not have hospitals as here
name.
in a
Yeah,
slicer. I would have them in a filter.
as a
Make
filter.
sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Any other questions, Sad or anyone else? Sorry, you will mute. Yeah, Yashashvi, go ahead.
Is there a way to change the type of chart we have without deleting the existing chart and creating a new one?
Yeah, go to design. Once you're there, change chart type,
Okay,
and
got
here
it.
you can choose. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to present what they did with the pivot table? There's no shame. We're just looking at it, and we're going to discuss the thoughts, and it's just a working session. So
I can, but I haven't used the like the data that we were supposed to work on. So I've used like 2023 data
that's
to
fine.
create pivot charts.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Yeah, let's see it.
Am I able to share my screen?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. You can see your screen.
so here it is. So I've done the
Okay.
same thing, but only for a single year, 2023.
Mhm.
I tried to use like different category, but this one was the simplest and it looked cleaner than the other ones, the other combinations.
Mhm.
And I've so this is what I've created basically.
Yeah, that's good. It is good. I do have one question. Just want to understand your thought process there, Yashashvi. What is the reason behind using a line graph? Why did you choose that?
Uh, so that I'm able to see the trends maybe across different cities. Because like I feel like it's easier for me to see the difference between different like products
Mm-hmm.
uh, with a line chart instead of columns. But I think it'll be more suitable to use columns in this case.
Yeah, So you can, there is no right or wrong when it comes to data visualization, but there are certain best practices, and we will discuss that in our next session. Our next session is going to be on data visualization, because we're also going to be getting into Power BI and stuff like that. With data visualization, it's important to understand that your chart should follow the pattern of your data. So I would argue, and this is my argument, it's not saying that you're wrong, but I would say that a line graph would better suit a data that involves that has like multiple
Yeah,
points in time.
I
And
did not notice it, but
yeah,
you're right to point that out.
yeah. So if you're using just a cross section, just a particular point in time or 2 points in time, I would still consider going with a bar chart and then a line graph. Okay, great. But thanks, Yashashvi.
Okay.
That was great. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So it looks like everyone's couple of people presented, a couple of people were able to get through it. I think we've already lost like half the room. Uh, any other questions? Anyone wants to do a little bit of a show and tell? If not, I'm just going to go over the agenda for the next week. So next week, what I want to do, and considering this only this, I think half the room is not here, but I still want to get your opinion on this. Um, I want to know whether you want to get deeper into data analytics. So that is doing t-tests, ANOVA, chi-square, all those tests. Or do you want to learn more about data visualization in Power BI? We have both those routes that we can go down on. We have a dedicated session completely on Power BI. Both. Okay. We can try covering both. Yeah. Any other opinions from anyone?
Data visualization. Yeah.
Data visualization. It seems like both. Okay. Statistical tools. Okay. Both. Same. Both. Okay. 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 Okay, then I'll try to touch on both. I'll try to touch on both data visualization and data analysis, but we'll try and do it as quickly as possible. Probably might not have much time to do much of show and tell, but yeah, we'll try and cover everything. Does that work? Okay. Data cleaning in Power BI. Sad, we can do that. We can do data cleaning in Power BI. The only thing is, and this is my personal opinion, when you have Excel for cleaning the data, unless you are importing data directly from the source, which involves a sophisticated data pipeline, Pratibha, I'll get back to you on that. Unless you have a complicated data pipeline, data cleaning in Power BI might not apply to social sciences that deeply, but I can still try and touch on it. I'll definitely touch on it, and I'll get back to you, Sat, on how that can be done, but not sure if we'll have time to get into that as well. So I think
Can you? I
is
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
can
Go
you
ahead.
give us some sort of exercise? I mean, which you could share. Like, so we will have the class next week, so that we could do something. I mean, based on what we have studied. Yeah, that would be good, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, sure. Sure. I can give you guys a bit of. I was planning on that, but the only thing is I don't have a deliverable ready for it. The one thing that I was thinking of doing is I had so I got this practice data ready on on my side. I was going to create, just like we did for 23 and 24. I was going to create again 23 and 24 again for this data. I was going to randomize some numbers, create a new Excel sheet, and I'm going to pass that on to you guys. And I want to make sure we do the exact same exercise that we did over the past 2 days of creating a pivot table, uh, from starting from data cleaning or going all the way to pivot
Yeah.
table and showing me a pivot chart. So I think
Yeah.
that is what I want to do. But I think participation was much less yesterday. So I'll not keep a full show and tell session, but if you have completed it, feel free to send it to me, email it to me. I will respond, and yeah, I'll get back to you on how that assignment was. Does that work?
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Gitanjali, macros and VBA, that is Gitanjali, macros and VBA, that is going to be a lot complicated. It is a bit out of the realm because for VBA I have to go through the whole coding process with you guys, and I'm not sure if it is that relevant to social sciences. But definitely, if in the future, I'll reach out to ResearchWise and see if they want to do a specific a specific workshop just on macros and VBA, then we can do it. But I'm not sure how relevant macros and VBA would be to students who are just trying to create their thesis analysis and stuff like that. Share my email ID? Sure. There you go. I think half the room has left, so Amit, do you think we should conclude?
Yes. So I have a few things to add. So first of all, I find this session was quite interactive, and only few of the participants interacted frequently. So I would expect more participation from you guys. Second, we will be sharing the recordings by tonight or after or tomorrow. And plus, we will be sharing the assignment which Sarah just talked about, and you can do the analysis in this week, so we can discuss same assignment in the coming session. Okay, that was all from my side. So if you guys don't have any question, we can conclude today's session. Is it okay, Hepsa?
Yeah, I think Yashashvi has a question. So before we conclude.
I wanted to ask, are there any exercises or some practices that we can follow so that we keep in touch with all of these new learning that we have learned in the past 2 days?
Yeah, so I just said that to Gaurav. Yeah, I'm going to create one now. I haven't created it yet. I'm going to create an assignment for you guys, and I'm going to send that over to ResearchWise, and they'll send it over to you guys. What we'll try to do, just to go over it again, Yashashvi, is we'll try and do the exact same thing we did over the past 2 days. We're going to try cleaning the data, then we're going to try analyzing the data. That's what we're going to try and do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. So thank you all.